Hey everybody, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. I am continuing this series on taking isolated vocal tracks, and I'm doing a singing tutorial and analysis, talking about the instrumentation, the production, you name it, backstories on the band, etc. And I've been doing a Bon Jovi-a-thon. So next up is It's My Life. And the more I do his stuff, the more I realize the genius of how much went into doing this stuff. Not just the songwriting, but the production, just everything. The engineering, all of this stuff was just absolutely incredible. And but before we get started, if you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'm getting this close to 1 million subs, so I'd really like to hit that mark soon. And I have a singing course for you guys interested and want to learn how to sing. You can find it right here at kentamplinvocalacademy.com. The course is called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else. And I also have a free singing forum over there with about 25,000 people in there, all talking about stuff like Bon Jovi. All right. Anyway, I want to dive in because, again, this is sort of later in his 80s metal career, not later in life, but later in the 80s metal stuff. And every single tune he wrote was great back then. I mean, it could have been Living on a Prayer. It could have been Blaze of Glory, which is a movie soundtrack tune. I'm talking fast today. Sorry about that. And it could be It's My Life. It could be, Bad Medicine. Like all those tunes were anthemically awesome. No exception here. Dive right in. John Bon Jovi, It's My Life. Check it out.
This ain't a song for the broken hearted.
You can really, his Jersey accent. This ain't a song for the broken hearted. Right, he's got that real small little boy voice. But anyway, I'm not making fun of him. It's just his style.
This ain't a song for the broken hearted.
Oh, before I forget, I did a version of this. I'll put it in the description. You tell me how I did. Now, in fairness, I don't try, like if there's an artist like John and we're very, very different stylistically, I don't try to emulate him. I try to get the spirit and the nature of what they're doing, but I still want it to sound like me. And me is more on the David Coverdale side of things. So I went, this ain't the song for the broken hearted, the silent prayers for the tears departed, yeah. Like I've got much more of a soul bluesy, girthy kind of sound. I could have gone, this ain't a song for the broken hearted, right? I could have done that. I chose not to. And so I find myself caught between two worlds when I'm doing these songs and I'm doing demonstrations. I'm putting them in description for you guys to say, oh, well, he said he could sound like John Bon Jovi, but it doesn't sound anything like him. I didn't try to. I can if I want to. So I've got a lot of I've got 1,200 videos on YouTube. So I don't go out of my way to mime or mimic the artist in that way. I really want to bring me into that with the spirit or nature of it. And then I always kind of like to try to add a little something more to it. So I'm not just doing exactly the same thing. So anyway, let's do this one more time. John Bon Jovi, awesome tune. It's My Life.
This ain't a song for the broken hearted. No silent prayer for faith departed. I ain't gonna be just a face in the crowd. You're gonna hear my voice when I shout it out loud.
Okay, now, I know John borrows influences, as we all do, in songwriting. So for me, I think of this song as John Bon Jovi's answer to Frank Sinatra's I Did It My Way, okay? It's my life. I'll do what I want. I'm not going to be just a face in the crowd. I'm going to stand above. I'm going to achieve, etc. So when you're thinking about this, I really want you to think about Frank Sinatra. I did it my way. I went here. I did that. I did what I wanted. It's all about me. In that sense, in Frank's sense. So think of that as you're going through this because it's sort of his statement of how he made it, so to speak.
I ain't gonna be just a face in the crowd. You're gonna hear my voice when I shout it out loud.
Now, I want to add one more thing. Most of the earlier stuff in Bon Jovi, and I've seen him a few times live, and they were always great. The stuff was really high and hard to sing. Living on a Prayer, those songs are hard. And not so much, Blaze of Glory, not so much Wanted Dead or Alive, that kind of stuff. But the big anthemic rock album stuff was hard to do. This is kind of at a time when he probably just said, I'm killing myself doing all this high stuff. And he might have even been struggling vocally even way back then. And I bring this up because we see what's happened to John's voice now. And so when you hear this stuff, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, he's such a great songwriter. He can turn the key down quite a bit and be able to write stuff like this and it still come out and almost sort of sound like him back in the heyday of Living on a Prayer and those kinds of songs. So I want you to sing this with me because it's pretty easy to sing. So check it out.
I ain't gonna be just a face in the crowd. You're gonna hear my voice when I shout it out.
No, I ain't gonna be just a face in the crowd. You're gonna hear my voice when I'm crying out loud. Right? That's the Glenn Hughes version. But you could sing along with this pretty easy, you know. And then you get to the chorus right here.
It's my life. It's now or never.
It's my life, it's now or never, right? That's way down lower than the Living on a Prayer stuff. So I suspect that he was going, you know, I better start writing some stuff that's more in where my range is at now because I'm struggling, or maybe just didn't want to, you know, sing that high stuff or whatever, a little bit of both. But I point that out along the way because this was at a time he started writing a lot of stuff like this, all right?
It's my life, it's now or never. I ain't gonna live forever. I just wanna live while I'm alive. It's my life. My heart is like an open highway. Like Frankie said, I did it
Yeah, see, like Frankie said, I did it my way.
my way. I just wanna live while I'm alive. It's my life.
Now, I'm not dissing John, so please don't think that. Again, I'm here to be fair and put humanity on stuff. But you can hear that kind of thing happening in his voice all the way back here that now he's struggling a lot with, because I get so many people asking me what happened to John Bon Jovi's voice and all kinds of things. I mean, it road, not taking care of it, not working out before doing shows, you know, over singing, singing 40, 50, 60 nights a month, you know, whatever, 40 nights a month, excuse me. Yeah, you can't do that. I'd be singing more than one, whatever. A lot of dates, 200 dates a year, 300 dates a year, whatever it was. Misspoke, sorry. But anyway, and so, you know, when you're going through that and you're traveling, you're in different time zones, maybe smoking, you know, drinking, whatever. And I know there was some of that going on too. It all plays a toll, or it all plays an effect on your voice. So I want to point that out, that you heard this sound way back then. I could point it out again, but you could hear it in the verses, you can hear it in the choruses.
And this is for ones who stood their ground.
Yeah, this is for one who stood their ground. It's not, and you can really hear the pinch and squeeze in the throat rather than, this is for the ones who stood their ground. It's not an open sound, and we need to get to an open sound. Even if you want to distort like this, which you can if you understand how to get open throat technique first. I cover this in my singing course. Then you can actually compress the sound and sound, you know, more distorted, not necessarily this throaty, but more distorted. So anyway.
And this is for ones who stood their ground.
Okay, so here we go.
For Tommy and Gina, who never back down.
Down. Right? You hear that sound?
Tomorrow's getting harder, make no mistake. Luck ain't even luck, you gotta make your own breaks. It's my life and it's now or never.
So you can even hear it there. It's my life. You can hear that kind of pinch. It should be, it's my life. It's now or never. Right? We should have, even if you distort it and make it smaller. It's my life. It's now or never. Right? We want to make that open, more open, and have more control of the throat rather than pinching and squeezing and really wrecking your vocal cords to do that. So anyway, let's continue.
It's my life and it's now or never. I ain't gonna live forever. I just wanna live while I'm alive. It's my life. My heart is like an open highway. Like Frankie said, I did it my way. I just wanna live while I'm alive. 'Cause it's my life.
Okay, let's move forward here.
You better stand tall when they're calling you out. Don't bend, don't break, baby, don't back down. It's my life, and it's now or never.
It's my life. He's up there. No or never. Right, he kind of goes up a little bit. So this is a little harder because he pitches it up, a third or whatever it is, a fourth. So these parts are a little harder to sing than the rest of the verses. So.
'Cause I ain't gonna live forever. I just wanna live while I'm alive.
You hear that? Am alive. You hear that wah, yeah kind of sound? And by the way, too, there's very little higher range vocal stuff that doesn't have or isn't covered with harmonies, okay? Now, I'm sure there was a production call and that was intentional, but when you listen to Living on a Prayer and you listen to the end when it goes up and stuff, that's a solo vocal line with a little bit of harmony on it. And yeah, there's big vocals for Living on a Prayer part, but if you listen, it's solo vocal. I have a, maybe I'll put that in the description. You can see I did an isolated vocal version takedown of that. And you listen to it, it's like, tss, pretty hot, man. It's pretty good stuff. And so there's a very big difference between his big, fat, round, Living on a Prayer vocals sung that high more as a single line than being covered up with a lot of production like this. I think it's really important to note because I think John was thinking in terms of that as he was going through this, how do I rescue this? How do I, keep moving forward and keep doing Bon Jovi songs in the spirit and the nature of what people think of when they think of Bon Jovi. So.
It's my life. My heart is like an open highway. Like Frankie said, I did it my way.
Frankie said I did it. That's the only thing we get out of him, right?
Like Frankie said, I did it my way. I just wanna live while I'm alive. It's my life, and it's now or never. I ain't gonna live forever. I just wanna live while I'm alive. It's my life. My heart is like an open highway. Like Frankie said, I did it my way.
Cool, and it just has It's My Life at the end. Now I want to add some of the instrumentation because the instrumentation really drives a lot of this. So when I fire this sucker up, I want you to check out how much it pushes the track. Check it out.
My heart is like an open highway. Like Frankie said, I did it my way. I just wanna live while I'm alive. It's my
Okay, and I want to go to the beginning too because even in the verses it does the same thing. Check it out.
prayer for faith departed. And I ain't gonna be just a face in the crowd. You're gonna hear my voice when I shout it out loud. It's my life, it's now or never.
Isn't it amazing how much the track plays such a huge role in selling that vocal? To me, I think that's phenomenal. I thought, womp, womp. Richie bringing back the talk box on this tune too. But anyway, gang, hopefully you're enjoying this as much as I am. I'm really enjoying just hanging out with you guys, sharing my thoughts on some of this stuff. Hopefully, some of it makes sense. I'm not saying I'm perfect or that I'm always right, but I am just trying to give you my opinion, and hopefully it will shed some light on how some of this stuff is done. So definitely hang out for my next video.